3291.
And yourself?
413
Yeah.
775 3741.
All right. Yeah, I was gonna pick you up and share a ride.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, he's saying the mics are down now. Just tell him when we let him on. Should I give him a signal?
I think
Ray
yeah.
is communicating.
Oh, Raina's. Okay.
All right. Good. So yeah, do you want me to test the mics?
She's just
All right.
overwhelmed with helping my daughter read and sort of interpret her women's lit
Are we all set?
assignments.
I guess I don't know. Jennifer, can you hear us online?
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, we can't hear Jennifer. Are you able to turn up the Google Meet too? We're working on it.
Yes, he's here. She's worried.
Oh yeah. Right.
You come right here. Is Michelle with us yet?
No.
No,
Not yet.
I've just texted her. Alan, anything from David?
No, I reached out to him twice and I sent him an email. He's
Wonder how Sophia's
not
gonna be.
even sent him a text. And I asked him to call me.
Oh, Melissa says she can hear everything on YouTube.
Okay, cool.
She's on the YouTube, so she's not a participant. I think she's just.
Oh, someone just gave out their
A viewer.
phone number. On YouTube.
Whoops.
Funny.
My daughter's on YouTube too. She says she had to get it.
Oh god.
She's on there?
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Hi, Iona.
There's a lot of opinions about how these meetings should go.
My grandson, and my grandson was freaking out at the house when I was.
No. I would say no.
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of have to. Vote on on changing this. I know. I'm sorry. After the.
Are we able to reconnoiter on the agenda? Or we need to do the budget
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the budget is
Yeah.
a real priority.
first, but can
Yeah.
we
We have
move
the
that up?
kids. Mm.
Deb's sake on the 6th.
That was rude. If the committee has to vote.
Get going.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's live, but we couldn't hear Jennifer. Sure.
Oh, here comes Tyler running.
technical issues.
Testing.
I think we're live, but we couldn't hear Jennifer, who's online.
How about now?
Can we get a check from somebody in the meet? Sound check.
This is Jen Coffin.
Someone,
Yeah,
Anyone?
yeah, for
Jennifer, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to talk.
Her box is lighting up.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's talking.
Yeah, keep talking, Jennifer.
Hello.
She said yes.
Yeah.
We can't hear her.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we're working on trying to get your sound for us to be able to hear you.
Because that would be the same for Michelle, too, right?
Melissa can hear Jennifer on YouTube.
All right. Jennifer, can you say something so we can test the
Go ahead
test it
again.
here?
Yep, testing
sound.
Jen Coffin.
Oh, there we go. Keep going.
How is everybody doing today?
We're doing well.
Great.
Yay, we can hear
Good to
you.
hear.
Watson, come here.
AB, Jen, can you give us the ABCs?
In the song version.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Is this live? L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Mrs. Bell, if you're listening, kindergarten teacher, you did a great job.
Keep going, Jen.
Oh, apologies. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
Hey, thank you very much. All right.
You're welcome.
So, are we live, Tyler?
You can go ahead.
Okay, great. So welcome, everyone. Sorry about the delay. Today is Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. This is a meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee taking place at the Pioneer Valley Regional School Library and online in the Google Meet. It can also be viewed at www.facebook/BNC Television and www.pvrsdk12.org. I'll call this meeting to order. It's 7:11 p.m. And we will do a roll call attendance. Go ahead, Steve.
Stephen Martin, present.
Gretchen Carlton, present.
Alan Genovese present.
Nathan Swartz present.
Karen O'Neill here.
Jen?
Jen, I think you're muted.
And Raina Dastu is also present.
She's boarding a plane.
Jen, one more time.
Jennifer Coffin, present.
She's going to sign on with her phone. Is that kosher? Does that count? No. Oh, Michelle. Okay, great. Okay.
Sorry, folks.
Hey, Michelle.
Oh, okay, Michelle. We're doing attendance. Are you able, can you unmute and speak your name?
Michelle Druso Leiden here.
Nice background, Michelle.
The
Yes.
palm tree.
Yeah, right, that's not one of those backgrounds.
property prices are going up. I'm getting a timeshare.
Ask her again.
So
Did you hear her say present?
I saw her say present as it lit up. Yeah. I don't know.
Yep.
Sorry, another sound test from somebody in the meet.
Here at the moment, but when
He's
she-
definitely hearing them.
Oh, we hear her?
Oh, there we go. Michelle, can you say something so we can test the?
I can't hear you.
Oh,
I heard you loud and clear before.
okay.
Okay, that's better.
Can you hear
Whatever.
us now?
Yes,
Okay, good.
good.
All right, so we have sound. So let's move on to citizens' comments. Limited to 3 minutes, and just come up to the microphone and speak, say your name and what town you're representing.
Good evening. The PVREA would like to inform the school committee and the public that our contract negotiations bargaining team did not recommend the recent settlement contract, and it was only passed by a simple majority of our members. Recently, many members have made their thoughts known to us that although they voted in the affirmative, they now feel differently after watching the public meeting that was held on Thursday, February 9th, 2023. And they would like you to know the following. 33 teachers of the PVREA membership are on step 15. Top step, and only receive a 2% COLA. 12 people who are on the top step but do not have 21 years of service only receive a 2% COLA. These teachers are hired at the highest step, or close to the top, because of our low pay scale. The cost to the district of an additional 1% increase to our unit is $55,407. $55,407. Your most loyal and dedicated teachers are receiving the smallest increase. Your refusal to use ESSER funds for a one-time increase or a COVID bonus for teachers leaves us demoralized. Especially since our member towns recognize their employees' dedication during the worldwide pandemic and use this one-time expenditure in that way. A $13,000 investment would have created longevity for valued teachers at 10 and 15 years of service, and recognizing their years of support to the district.
We're not asking you to increase town assessments. We wanted to see a more fair share of the funds provided. We feel that the allocation across administration and teacher salaries should be more aligned. The budget slide labeled Investment in Teaching and Learning included a term called scheduling, simply meaning to reallocate existing members to new roles, meaning more prep time without compensation, to fill positions such as instrumental music, woodshop, and health education, positions that are not being advertised. The Director of Teaching and Learning Administration position is an expansion of a position that will oversee the lowest fundamental enrollment in the PVRSD history. Why are administrative positions not being looked at for efficiency, as our teaching positions are? We were made to believe that the Warwick departure would be detrimental, and the budget would be $500,000 in arrears. And yet in your final presentation, that amount was much less. Not to mention the reporting of an excess in E&D of $922,610, creating a feeling that the district was not being transparent. We will look forward to hearing more about what lines were underspent. We accepted the agreement, as we have in the past, thinking that the administration would come in alongside us, and that the monies would have been measured with the same sense of equity. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the minutes for January 19th. Oh, sorry. Sure, sorry.
Hi, I'm Deborah Cote, citizen Northfield. I'm just requesting that our six-town regionalization planning board presentation be moved up. I just left the hospital a couple hours ago, and I'm not feeling great, but I'd like to be here because I care deeply about the planning board. And I'm here with Mr. Craig Seneca, and I'd like to have this presentation earlier so that I can go home and rest. And I know many members in this committee know me personally, and they care about me, and I would request this happen.
I would move that we move that up when you, as soon as you're able to, so that we can handle the budget, and then, because that requires a motion to have a second on, so that we can move that up on the agenda.
I would suggest that we move it up to after the budget discussion. Would do other members have another suggestion? I know that it's still a little bit.
Just thinking out loud for a minute, maybe it would make sense to move the budget up as well, and handle the budget, and then handle the six-town, and then go on with the rest of the reports. But the budget, any items on the agenda that's affiliated with the budget should be part of that motion. Was my thinking.
Right. So maybe reorder the agenda so that the Director of Finance and Operations is next, and then the budget, and then the six-town regional planning board, and then proceed.
Just pointing out, we have students who are leaving on a trip tomorrow morning, and they agreed to shorten their presentation because there was such a packed agenda tonight. So I want to honor their being here and their need to get home and go to sleep.
All right, so.
I'll amend my motion to include that.
Okay, so we have an agenda in front of us, and we are now reordering it significantly. So, all right, I'm going to suggest that we move up the student reports, the Director of Finance and Operations, the budget, and then the six-town planning board, and then we'll proceed with other agenda items in order. And we need to take that roll call vote, please.
Stephen Martin, agree, yes.
Rebecca
Shelton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Coffin, yes.
Just want to put in the chat.
Yeah, you can go ahead and put that in the chat, Jennifer. We're still having trouble. And Michelle?
Michelle Geruso, yes.
Okay. You want to put that in the chat as well? Jennifer votes yes, and Michelle votes yes. All right, so on to our student report.
Great.
Take it away.
Yep, I will present. Tyler, are you able, there we go. Thank you.
So this is the February student representative report for the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee. Just some brief district and PVRS updates. We are leaving at 2:30 in the morning tomorrow to head to the airport to fly out to Chicago and then to Puerto Rico as part of a Spanish department trip. I had the opportunity to go to the budget hearing last Thursday and learn some more about what goes into the process and hear from teachers and community members and other committee members about their concerns about the budget. So that was eye-opening. And then I'd like to highlight the Faculty of the Month for Pioneer, and it is Miss Miner. She was also awarded the Harold Grinspoon Teacher Award, Pioneer Valley Excellence in Teaching Award. So we honored her today, and you can see that out on your way out on the bulletin board. And then lastly, there's an upcoming musical in March, and it is Zombie Prom. Next up is Bernardston Elementary School. So I got to visit the following classrooms on my visit on February 7th. So I got to see a little bit of almost everything. Pre-K, kindergarten, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, and then I got to go to 1st and 2nd grade lunch. So here are some pictures of things that are happening in pre-K and kindergarten. So on the left, you can see it says, in pre-K, we clean up our toys, listen to your friends and teachers, and be kind to others. So some encouraging words there. And then in the middle, it is a scene or like a play choice time activity for the students to do. And then on the right is a I Have a Dream little poster, which is dating back to Martin Luther King Day. So that was something that they had done there. And then grade 4 and 5. So in grade 4, which is Miss Muse's class, they were working on some solar system projects, which I found to be very cool. I only got to take I took more than 2 pictures, but I could only fit 2 pictures on here. But these 2 highlight some of the solar system projects that they were working on. And then in the middle, it is a Martin Luther King Day project that was in Miss Clary's class. And I also got to have some really great conversations with her class about some things that students want to see in the district and what they want to see in their school regarding gym and lunch, which were their favorite things to talk about. So I will be working on that and thinking a little bit more about how to present that to the school committee coming up. And then lastly, grade 6, they were working on some Greek mythology work after they'd finished reading a book in class. And then in the middle, as I've done the past 2 months, I like to show the quote that Miss Tominski puts on her board. And it is, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at once, which is an Oprah Winfrey quote. And then lastly, some art from around the school. So art on the left and right, and then a Valentine's Day Kindness Matters poster in the middle.
Right. Thank you. This Tuesday, I was able to visit NES and see the preschoolers, the kindergarten, and the 5th grade. Right. In preschool, they are working on expressing their feelings and expanding their writing ability through portraying their mood with pictures on the board you can see in the top there. And they also created Valentines to one another and their families, where they had to express why they liked or loved one another. They also rewrote the Gingerbread Man and created various illustrations, which you can see in the bottom left there. And they're also learning how to respect other living beings and to care for other living beings with their class fish, you can see right there. In kindergarten, they are working on studying the passage of time and recognizing how everything is slowly moving forward by, one, adding a popsicle stick to that tower right there. each day, which I've been told in the past has reached the ceiling before. So that will be fun to see where it goes. They also, each day, they create a little postcard of sorts with a picture and description of the day, so they can see all the things they've done in the past and how many days have passed since they started doing that. They're also learning to be responsible, keep things organized, and work with one another through getting different jobs assigned to them throughout the year, such as line leader or the door holder or watering the plants. In the 5th grade, they're currently focusing on colonial times, the 13 colonies and colonial trade. Each student has been assigned a job from colonial times, such as blacksmith or cobbler, and it is their job to research that person, that job, create a little model house that is then added to their village, and later in the year they will be dressing up as their character, introducing themselves to the class as that person. They're also focusing on decimals and how they're used, the relation to fractions, and how to multiply and divide fractions. And during Valentine's Day, they had a little fun with conversation hearts, where they were able to count the candies and add them all up together. There is the hope that end of the
Sorry, Matthew.
Yeah, there's the hope at the end of the year that they will be able to visit Old Sturbridge Village, which has been not possible for the past few years for obvious reasons. But yes, thank you.
And then lastly, as I've done, Northfield After School Program, which has been administered by the Collaborative for Educational Services, and I've been working there. So here are some pictures of some activities that we've done in the past month. So the left, we have been doing some Play-Doh activities, which they always are a fan of. And then on the bottom, you can see some jewelry making led by Don Hubbard, who's an instructional assistant there. And then the top right, I have been working on some cultural and language programming for the students.
Yep. All right. Thank you. So, moving on to the Director of Finance.
And que vaya con Dios. Buen viaje.
Safe travels and have a wonderful time. All right, so moving on to our report from the Director of Finance.
Is that me?
All right, so similar to last month, I provided a memo in advance to hopefully provide greater explanation and especially tonight, I think, hopefully save time because for a variety of reasons, we have a lot to get through. So regarding the expenditure report, I just wanted to see first if anyone had any questions specific to the expenditure report. And how about regarding the revenue report? Good. And I saved everyone's eyes this month by not having any budget transfers. I think give everybody a breather for a few weeks. It's probably appropriate after the number last time. But once we have all the new salary encumbrances for the PVREA, I'll continue to make budget transfers as needed, but that'll allow us to update those salary lines as well. Lunch report, I didn't provide advance reporting regarding that, so I will go through that starting from the state reimbursements, where there's the state subsidy equivalent, et cetera. So overall revenue brought into the program in January was $40,980.
Do you want to show them which one you're talking?
Oh, sorry. Yep, the one with lots of yellow highlighting. Well, they both have lots of yellow highlighting, but this has an exceptional amount. So the one that says state subsidy equivalent lunch at the bottom of each, underneath the subtotals. So there's a total of $40,984.90 in combination of federal and state reimbursements for the lunches in January. And then on the next page, so the total revenue, so at midway down that page, the total revenue was $54,884.79. And most of that revenue was state and federal reimbursements, but there was some supply chain assistance funds in January as well. And there was a total expenses of $36,853.30. So if you deduct out the supplies chain assistance funds, we would have a profit or loss around $4,000 for the month of January. Year to date, the closing balance column year to date balance of $45,834.72. But as we can see, if you subtract out for the summer salaries that, for the summer pays that will continue through July and August, the actual balance year to date is $21,546.35. So, with the additional state assistance, we're able to continue to turn a small profit in the food service program, and we have a healthy bank account there as well. So I know historically we've had, and many schools have had negative balances, but for the time being, as long as the additional state subsidies remain, I anticipate that we will certainly be able to break even and probably turn a profit each year. I'll say quote unquote profit because that's not the goal, certainly. But that's where we're at now. Good.
Certification.
Right, moving on to the E&D certification. So total E&D of $922,610, and of that, we exceeded the statutory 5% limit by $161,214. And not to spoil the next presentation regarding the budget, but we'll be appropriating significantly more than $161,000 in the FY24 budget. So ultimately, we will be in compliance with that statute. So we're going to appropriate $450,000. So we will then be significantly under the 5% limit. Stop. Any questions for this part?
All right, thank you. So moving on to the FY24 budget discussion and vote.
Yeah, save it. You can go to summary.
I'm trying to build suspense. I know exactly where my memo is. And, this is performative. No, good. Found the memo I was looking for. Right. So I think that I provided 3 memos, and I apologize for the number of memos because memos are supposed to make things more brief. But when you make 3, it's getting to be a short book. So I think the most important memo really, because this isn't intended to be another hearing, right? So I think the most important thing is, well, post-hearing, what has changed? And so the final memo I provided on in the spirit of romance, on Valentine's Day, I provided this final memo, which summarized all of the differences in great detail in terms of reductions in expenses, some increases in expenses, and the additional excess and deficiency that was appropriated. And ultimately, after all of those changes, and I think, as the memo points out, we're going to vote on both assessments for the operating budget and assessments for a capital budget. So once you take the capital out of this budget, and in some ways, that's a good comparison since last year didn't have capital in it. Ultimately, what we're looking at when we deduct Warwick out of the assessments, we're adding 1.03% onto that dollar amount. So subtracting off Warwick and the capital expense, that's where we get to. I know we talked about 2.4%. So after these reductions, so quickly to summarize on the back page, right? Reductions totaling $33,382. Additional appropriation of excess and deficiency, and as thematically we've been going through the budget talking about incorporating feedback. We heard from the towns. We heard from the towns wanting us to focus on specific areas of the budget, and we heard from towns asking about appropriating additional excess and deficiency. And we wanted to be receptive to that because ultimately, the budgeting and what we do in both the district and the towns is a team sport, right? The district can't succeed if the towns aren't fiscally healthy, and of course, the towns would prefer to have a thriving school. So we're trying to balance all of those things and hopefully, build goodwill and trust between the communities in the district. So that's the story ultimately. Total assessments now of $8,774,112. Just a couple weeks ago we were talking about over 9.1 million. So hopefully our sincerity in being both receptive to feedback, but also taking action on it. Hopefully that resonates. So are there any questions regarding the changes, the specific line items that had been reduced or increased? All right. So the next thing, with the help of our fiscal overseer, I prepared some motions regarding voting the budget, both breaking down the budget by the control groups, total budget, and breaking down assessments by town for both the total operating budget and for the capital portion. And finally, the revenue budget. I'll hand out the motions, and I think now people can direct their attention, if they have questions on any calculations, direct their attention to the handouts I provided regarding the revenue budget and the town assessments. I think that those are good companion documents to these motions, but I'll hand the motions out.
These ones after that? Oh. They look like this. They're, and Michelle, you have your hand raised?
I do. Thank you, Jordan, for sending me the motions earlier today, but I cannot see them. I did read them over. I was going to make the motions, so I hope that I can turn it over to someone else on my committee to do that, because I can't get my laptop connected to the internet.
I think we can manage to have someone in the room make those motions. Michelle, thanks. And I'm just going to take a moment also. Melissa Gary could not be here tonight. She's a representative from Bernardston and also on the Finance Committee or the Budget Subcommittee, and she asked me to share her comments. So I'll just read what she wrote. At tonight's meeting, when it seems appropriate, can you please share my support of the budget presented at tonight's meeting? I am so proud of the work and the hours that Jordan and the admin team have poured into listening to every comment, email, call, etc., and adjusting the budget to appropriate levels of funding. I know I will not be there to voice my vote, but I would appreciate the committee knowing I'm in support of the budget version 9.0. Thank you.
And just to, I guess, probably before the vote, if people have questions, to provide additional context. So for the town assessments, I've shown my work. and for the capital assessments as well, in terms of how those were calculated. As the motion say, for the capital assessment, I calculated them based on the district agreement and have separated out a separate motion to vote the operating budget and the capital budget. So, and then the revenue budget. I know some of this stuff is not the tradition, is not how we have always done it, but I tried to, with Patricia's, a great deal of help from both Patricia and the fiscal overseer to ensure that we're doing things based on statute and regulations, as well, of course, our own past practice, but hopefully enhancing our practice as well. Not me personally, but with the help of Patricia and Cammie, team effort for sure. So, right.
Yeah.
So just a question with the overseer. In the past, I think we voted, each one of those categories that you have listed separately, and then at the end we would do the overall. So I guess this is doing that, in that you're having the motion include the total, but then recognizing each one of those categories. So in this process, I guess I just want to be clear that the committee realizes that they're actually approving each one of those individual that contribute to the whole, and that should help to bridge that difference in what we did then and how we're handling it now, which is, I think, efficient. And if anyone had an issue with it, that before the motion, since we now have this in place, if people are looking over each one of those categories and there's not an issue, then that motion will work well.
Is there anybody on the committee that cannot vote on any of the categories like there have been in past years?
I'm not aware of any conflicts of interest that would preclude a member voting on particular categories. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Right. Any other questions or discussion? All right. So I guess we'll entertain a motion.
Steve?
Karen, Steve?
I'd like to make a motion based on the well-prepared green form in front of me, and channeling Michelle, thankfully. And I'm sorry.
Put it right up.
Yes, I'm sorry. And channeling my colleague from Leiden. I make a motion to adopt and shall I read each bullet point? Thank you. I make a motion to adopt the FY24 local operating expenditure budget for a total of $14,720,000 I've got to go back to school and read that again. $14,720,938. And this consists of the following control groups: a district administration FY24 local budget of $4,503,316. A Bernardston Elementary School FY24 local budget of $2,049,830. A Northfield Elementary School FY24 local budget of $1,736,522. A Pioneer Valley Regional School FY24 local budget of $3,072,427. An Athletics FY24 local budget of $183,850. And a Shared Service FY24 local budget of $3,174,993. I continue with this motion. No. I stop making a motion now.
I will second that.
Thank you, Karen. Any further discussion? All right, Steve, why don't you start the voting?
Stephen Martin, yes.
Gretchen Pelton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle? Oh, no, she just left the meeting. Jennifer Coffin says yes. Oh, goodness. Raina Dastu, yes.
I'm going to call Michelle. Michelle? Michelle, you're on speakerphone in the meeting. Michelle, can you hear me? Michelle?
I can hear you.
Great. You are on
I can hear you.
You are on speakerphone in the meeting, and Raina is taking a roll call vote on this motion for the first part of the budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay,
Michelle,
stay
yes.
on the line.
So that is 8 yeses, and that passes. Thank you. So I will entertain a motion for the second item, budget item.
I can do that.
All right, thank you, Karen.
Okay. I make a motion to adopt the fiscal year 2024 Pioneer Valley Regional School District local expenditure operating budget of $14,720,900. 14 million, excuse me, $14,720,938, and to fund the proposed budget with an assessment based upon the statutory method to the town of Bernardston for $3,195,856, to the town of Leiden for $882,466, and to the town of Northfield for $4,695,790. And second bullet, right? The fiscal year 2024 Pioneer Valley Regional School District local PVRS capital building budget of $55,000, and to fund the proposed budget with an assessment based upon the method described in the district agreement to the town of Bernardston for $19,360, to the town of Leiden for $5,115, and to the town of Northfield for $30,525.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Steve. All right, you want to start the voting?
Stephen Martin, yes.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Just a question. So we use the statutory method for the first part of that? I mean, we do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Just want to verify. So that's fine.
Yep.
And then the second part, that is in the regional agreement, it made, did the overseer confer that the acts of 1993 did not supersede the way that we presently do this? We're good to go there?
Yes, to my understanding, we are. And in speaking with the overseer, what I think is that that section that says superseded by the acts of 1993 really should be for the operating cost portion of the budget, because that part was superseded by the acts of 93 with the minimum local contribution.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, let's start voting.
Stephen Martin, yes.
Gretchen Kelton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Raina Dastu, yes. Michelle?
Michelle Caruso, yes.
And Jennifer Coffin votes yes in the chat. All right. That motion passes. We have 8 yeses. Excellent. Our third motion.
Try to follow Ms. O'Neill's precedent here. I make a motion to adopt the FY24 operating revenue budget for a total of $14,720,938. This consists of the following revenue sources: town assessments of $8,774,112, Chapter 70 aid of $3,998,199, Chapter 71 transportation aid of $571,367, charter school reimbursement of $95,000, Medicaid of $95,000, bond proceeds of $198,810, tuition of $474,450, earnings from investments of $4,000, excess and deficiency of $450,000, and the Warwick retiree contribution of $125,000.
I second that.
Karen, any further discussion on that point? All right, we'll start the voting.
Stephen Martin, yes.
Gretchen Calton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle
Michelle Jeruso, yes.
and Jennifer Coffin.
If you can hear me, Jennifer Coffin, yes.
Yes, thank you. Excellent. And Raina Dastu, yes. So that passes with 8 votes. Thank you all.
Okay, how about a round of applause for our Jordan for his first year out, running a nice budget process. And thank you to our budget subcommittee, Michelle Jeruso, thank you so much. Karen O'Neill, Steve Martin, Melissa Gary, who is on a plane right now, stalwart member of the committee, and David Young. Thank you so much for the many, many meetings you not just attended, but you worked so hard at. Thank you. Raina, thank you for leading this.
Thank you all for your work and contribution. This has been a long process, and I appreciate all the hard work. So, and thank you.
And let's thank Cammie too. What a great fiscal officer we have.
Cammie Limica, thank you.
She's been hugely helpful, including right up until the wire today. I was calling her often. She probably feels like she has an extra child.
Well, we appreciate her parenting skills. All right. On to Deb and Greg, you may come on up. Thank you. So presentation from of the Six-Town Planning Board. Appreciate coming.
Yeah.
While they're getting ready, I could probably save time to just refer you to, in your packet, there was a communication that was sent to the Board of Selectmen, so that was in your packet for informational purposes, so that you would see the communication with them. It kind of outlined where we were and what we'd be doing next. So you could use that a little bit as a backdrop to the presentation as additional information. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead. And just keep, keep the mic real close.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All set? All right.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for having us. First of all, and congratulations for passing your school committee vote on the budget. So that's always a little stressful. Jordan, congratulations for. My name is Greg Snedeker. I'll give you a little bit of background on myself, and then I'll let Deb also speak to herself. I have been, first and foremost, I've been on the Gill Select Board for 9 years. I was on the Gill Montague Civic Leaders back when the Heart Committee was also working in your district to look at sustainability for our school district. And then we moved into forming the planning board, which I was the foolish one to get the ball rolling. I was the one that called the first meeting, and then I nominated Alan Genovese to be the chair, unbeknownst to him. I've lived in Gill about 31 years now, and I've been a teacher this is my 29th year, and I taught college for 11 years, elementary school for a year, which was thoroughly exhausting. I have all the utmost respect for our teachers at that level, and then middle and high school for the last 17 years. So that's my background. I want to have Deb introduce herself.
I should say the nurse left me with, you don't have much filter, so you better be careful tonight. I'm like, well, I almost never have a filter anyway, so it shouldn't be a problem. But so I appreciate everyone letting us go ahead. I'm grateful for that. So I'm Deborah Potee. I live in Northfield. Over 3 years ago in March, 3.5 years ago, I was elected to serve on the Six-Town Regionalization Planning Board Committee. I think people who have known me know I care deeply about public schools and have often spoke pretty clearly and loudly about raising taxes so that teachers get paid more. And I work as a school adjustment counselor at Greenfield High School, and we just received, hopefully, knock wood, our 3% raise for the past 3 years, or 3, I believe. So, I am. I feel very connected to both Pioneer because I have a daughter who graduated from Pioneer, and I have a daughter who is no longer going to Pioneer. And I'm very excited that we get to present what the findings that we have found the last 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to follow up with that. The presentation I'm about to show you, which is a PowerPoint with some audio attached, and Deb was kind enough to do the audio narrations. This is the culmination of the past 3 years of looking into financial sustainability, into the educational programming, into the transportation, into facilities. So we have done a comprehensive sort of deep dive into all those areas. And you're going to see some of the findings here tonight in the presentation. So this is not only speaking to you as a school committee, but any that will be watching this out on the internet. So, okay. With that said, for those that don't know, we haven't had a chance to do as much public outreach as we would have liked because of the pandemic. So we're actually really eager to start, making up for that, and we have been in the last year, and hopefully we'll do even more as we go forward. So if I can share the screen, hopefully I have sharing capabilities here.
Tyler, are you seeing his screen come up?
Maybe, hold on a second.
I see whatever's.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Okay. Let me.
Well, there's a permission, but then there's also a, hold on.
Yeah, you have permission to share your screen.
No, this is right from my screen. I can, if you want to do it online, I can do it that way. And I was hoping we could do it just straight from the laptop. Can I share it from that screen? It just needed to be,
So while they're doing that, I guess I can just provide a little additional information.
do what now?
So an RFQ request for quotes had been put out for a facilitator to be able to
Okay, great.
solicit information from students and parents in the community.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to play the audio as we go with each slide and stop if you have any questions. I don't expect very many in the beginning. It's sort of giving an introduction to what we are. But as we get into the slides, I'll look and just see if there are any questions, and feel free to ask them at that time.
Thank you for your interest in this presentation and for wanting to learn more about the work the Six-Town Regionalization Planning Board has been doing since the fall of 2019.
Let's see if we can get that to run the audio through there. Can we try that again?
Not yet, no.
The reason why my screen.
You told Viola?
In this presentation, and wanting to learn more about the work of the Six-Town Regionalization.
It's going here.
Tell me when you want me to save them.
This is
I'm serious. Tell me when you want me to save them.
What's up? Are you gonna run for the school? Oh, yeah, we really need to have you on. Yeah.
Ellen, do you have?
Well, we expand to 7. That would be ideal choice. Yeah, it's something I've thought about. Good.
Yeah, I don't think. So we turn off the. See if that works this time.
Go ahead and try the audio.
Yeah, give me a second.
Welcome to all. Thank you for your interest in this presentation and for wanting to learn more about the work the Six-Town Regionalization Planning Board has been doing since the fall of 2019. My name is Deborah Potee, and I'm a concerned parent and citizen of the town of Northfield, and I'm representing the Six-Town Regionalization Planning Board. As a community member, I am concerned about the future of our schools, and so volunteered to be appointed to this board by the town moderator. The work of our board has been focused on gathering information and data to better understand the reasons for regionalizing 2 school districts, Pioneer Valley Regional School with Gil Montague, with a focus of 7th through 12th grades. We then have worked to understand the benefits and challenges of combining districts, and again, focusing on what we know in terms of information and data. I will not be reading the slides, but highlighting salient points, and will allow plenty of time for the slides to be read. The slideshow presentation is based on the work accomplished by the consultant groups, Massachusetts Association of Regional Schools, MARS, and the Abrahams Group. Information gathered from a series of information sessions with school administrators, teachers, and staff from both school districts, DESE, and our own research. As we move through the slideshow, please hold any questions you may have until the end. Some questions you may have might not be able to be answered in the moment, but we will do our best to address what we do know. We as a board have not been formed to make any decision, but to present information to the larger community based upon our work. We have been charged to make recommendations in the future, but now is a time for sharing information. Thank you. Over the past 3 years, we have met monthly with smaller subcommittees, including an Education and Finance Committee, that met more often. The board has had very little turnover, which has helped build community and a sense of collective strengths, open-mindedness, and commitment to the goals of our work. An outcome of combining would be the doubling of the student population, which would automatically increase opportunities for all students. Based on 2021-22 data from DESE, PVRS has a population of 657 students in total, with 276 students in grades 7 through 12, 153 in the high school, 123 in the middle school. Gil-Montague has a population of 845 students total, with 376 students in grades 6 through 12, 184 in the high school, and 192 in the middle school. Pioneer graduated 23 seniors last year. Gil-Montague graduated 36.
This was something that's added recently. And what this table is showing is, this is back from 2019, but you can get a sense of the significant enhancement of programs. And what you see here is a comparison high school of Clinton High School that has, back at least at that point, had an enrollment of 456. You can see the 2023 enrollments down at the bottom. And you're seeing by department, the department size. And we thought it was important to add this because when you look at, let's say, an ELA department of 2 and 1 in each of the districts, and you move to a combined district, which is the last column, which would be the proposed new size of the department, you're looking at 5. So you can't underestimate the significance in increasing your department size by 150% or greater than that. The resources are tremendous. So, you know, when you have a staff of only 1, there's very little collaboration. There's very little, room for from learning from each other, from diversifying your curriculum approach and your approaches to learning. And so this, I think, shows puts a spotlight on what the difference would be from going from each district being individual to a combined district and the impact it would have on each of the departments. So as you can see, you know, math would go from 3 in one district and 2 in another to 5. And what that does is that often opens up your possibilities in terms of electives within your discipline. It taps sometimes resources within your own department that you couldn't use otherwise. So there's a lot of benefits to it. You can have a look and just see, you know, the number that actually have only one person in the department. That may have changed, but from now, but the overall impact would be roughly the same when you start looking at how you're increasing the size of the department. Can I move on? Okay.
This is a list of determined outcomes based upon larger numbers of students. These are guaranteed benefits of regionalizing.
Can you read that?
No.
Is there a way to expand the print? I can't.
Can you?
I know there's words up there.
I didn't bring my opera glasses.
Is that any better?
It's
I can bring
awkward.
my opera glasses.
That'll,
I know, I can read it.
I can see it great, like,
On the meet.
great eye doctor.
Do you want to highlight some of those things? since
yeah,
you're-
that is, yeah, I can go through. There would be an increase in flexibility in scheduling. When you increase the student body, you build economies of scale within your student body so that you can offer not only your required classes, but electives alongside, because you can often run, 2 of the same subject area or the same subject in a grade, which allows you to open up your room for electives and other course offerings. So that's in both in regard to points 1 and 2. School to career programs would benefit. So the innovative pathways, healthcare, social assistance, and environmental management. These would be in addition to current internships and the dual enrollment program with Greenfield Community College. It would enhance athletics and sports programs, decreasing the reliance on co-op arrangements, and support development of more middle school athletic programs. I think it's easy to envision when your declining enrollment is causing you to only be able to feed, let's say, a varsity team and not be able to offer a JV team. That impacts your athletic programs. Strengthens your visual and performing arts program by enlarging your band, chorus, art classes, and performance exhibit opportunities. I can say as someone that's taught band for many years that a band of the size of 10 is not the same as a band of the size of 40 or 50. So you have to approach it very differently when you're down on your enrollment. Strengthen, it would also diversify and expand extracurricular activities, including clubs, memberships, groups, and things like National Honor Society. Okay, to move on?
Yeah.
All right.
This is a list generated from meetings with school administrations and faculties from both districts that happened over this past spring of 2022. Both districts were invited to participate in sessions to share information about their respective schools and imagine what might happen with a merger.
Can you just share the list?
Sure, yeah, so the list is more flexibility, daily schedule, and expanded course offerings such as AP courses, robust visual and performing arts, computer-aided design, computer science, foreign / world language courses, business courses, American studies, agricultural and environmental courses, health education, wellness, life coaching, and mindfulness, and capstone projects. This list comes from both the Pioneer and Gil Montague teachers themselves when we met with them. This is where the source of that comes from. Okay.
Combining districts would allow potentially for some greater community outreach and collaboration with outside partnerships. This would depend on vision, leadership, and effort to increase and expand what community partnerships already exist. Staffing, both at the administrative and faculty level, would have to stabilize, and a shared and supported vision for this larger district would have to be determined.
Yeah, so some of this with the expanded community outreaches would be, and these were suggestions. I mean, these would have to be supported by the school committee and the administration to implement some of these. But partner with local newspapers and journalism, potentially with local colleges for project learning, green school, greenhouse, rivers, outdoor classrooms, Northfield Mountain Recreational Center, Connecticut River and Watershed, and the Pioneer Valley Stewardship Plan, which, again, these all came from the teachers in the district.
Excellent.
Again, these outcomes could happen with a larger population, but might depend on what positions are allocated for funding and how departments are reconfigured.
So this is your student services, which would broaden your programs for students requiring specialized services. More paraprofessional support, enhancing engagement, and more robust guidance and mental health counseling.
Combining districts based upon increase in population alone will bring stability to sports in terms of being able to field teams and perhaps expand opportunities.
So in athletics, the findings were enhanced and expanded programs, both in intramural, JV, and varsity, and dedicated middle school athletic sports.
These outcomes, with combining districts, perhaps brought the greatest enthusiasm from the faculty participants in the spring forums. Currently, both school districts' teachers are experiencing teaching a subject in isolation with just one upper school English teacher or just one science teacher in the middle school. Having colleagues in the same subject area is a significant aspect of being a teacher for many reasons. Having a larger and more diverse faculty can strengthen the curriculum in many different ways, including strengthening teaching skills and deepening knowledge of subjects.
If you can't read this, it's the opportunities for staff, according to them, would be blending of the unique offerings of both districts, more opportunity and flexibility to design courses and curriculum, a dedicated middle school model, and more grade level and subject area peers for collaboration. This was also added after the audio was done. So this is historical enrollment data for PVRSD. So we took a look at a longer view for both districts because with the consultants we used, they only went back about 10 years, and we felt like it really didn't give enough information. If you look at Pioneer's decline in enrollment, it's pretty significant in the last 10 years. And Gil Montague's doesn't look like it's as significant, but when you go back 20 years, you realize they both, total enrollment peaked in 1996 for both districts. And so they were in total, as far as their total enrollment, they were in decline from that year forward. I think Pioneer was, kept their middle and high schools more stable and actually increased through the decade of, let's say, 2000 to 2010, whereas Gil Montague's had a much more significant decline in the middle school and high school during those years, where in the second decade, going from 2010 forward, you see a much steeper decline in Pioneer and less so in Gil Montague. So as you see here, the 2010 enrollment, which is when the middle and high school peaked here in Pioneer, you had a total of 546, and the enrollment in 2022 was 256, and you can see the declines both in the middle school, the high school, and then the two together.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, this is Steve Martin. Appreciate all the work here.
Yeah.
I think it's establishing reasons for declining enrollment in retrospect are very challenging.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
prospectively are also challenging. So thank you for your thoughts on this. We looked earlier in the year, and I do wonder how much of the Pioneer enrollment decline is from the closing of the Vernon power plant, and would be grateful for that kind of analysis, because that's a shift in that's different than sort of an underlying demographic shift. And so thank you. And if there's not to be discussed now, it's totally fine too.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, though. I think you can assume that there would have been a drop-off in 2014 when the power plant went shut down. But I also think that you would have probably seen some declines already prior to that with the leading up to it, because you would see some of the families preparing for that, possibly getting packages to go elsewhere, down to, I think, where was it, maybe North Carolina or something like that. So yeah, I think you can assume that some of that decline is absolutely from Vernon. I think overall, though, I think we've seen a population decline in Franklin County, and especially in this area in the rural districts. And And then also our population has gotten older. And that's just general information regarding the census that we found. Yeah. So here's the Gill-Montague numbers, and they're actually very similar. So you'll see that the the total enrollment actually declines in the same year. They peak in 1996. There's one of the things that I think is important to note is that as the declines are continuing, we're seeing a leveling off of total enrollment, but we're not necessarily seeing a leveling off of the middle and high school enrollments. So that's something to take note of. So the changes from peak total enrollment, you can see that listed below, and then the high school and middle school peaked much earlier. So you're seeing in 2000, you see the Turners Falls High School enrollment peaked, as opposed to Pioneer, which was in 2010. So it was about 10 years later. You're also seeing that the Great Falls middle school enrollment peaked in 98, and a less of a decline in the middle school from its peak, only 36%, still significant. But in the high school, you see 57, which is pretty close to what Pioneer has declined. So both districts have been right in around the same ballpark in terms of the decline in their middle school and high school.
This slide shows attending enrollment figures for the two districts. Attending enrollment is important because the number of students actually at the schools affects what programs can be offered. The solid lines show actual enrollments for the past 10 years. Over the period, Pioneer's attending enrollment has declined by 42%, and Gill-Montague's has declined by 17%. The dashed lines show projections done by the New England School Development Council, or NESDEC, in 2018, and the dotted lines show NESDEC projections done in 2021, in the middle of the COVID pandemic. As with all the following charts, a link to the Excel spreadsheet that it came from is shown at the bottom.
In this case, I think it's important to also note that with the NESDEC projections, especially the last one that was done, we don't have a lot of confidence in the projections just because it was done during the pandemic. So that kind of skewed the number. It was a sort of a major event that caused some significant declines, but then again, a bounce back in enrollment. So it's really tough for us to take those numbers very seriously. I think we need to let the enrollment sort of play out for another year or two to get a better indication of what the actual projections would be.
This slide shows attending enrollment for the two high schools. The green line shows what enrollments would be if the two schools had been combined.
So you're seeing with the black, the line decline over the last since 2015, and then the blue line is Gill-Montague. So it does look like Pioneer is declining more rapidly, but again, that is partly because a lot of Gill-Montague's decline happened about 10 years earlier. And then the green line is showing what it would look like if the two were combined. That's for just middle and high school.
On the financial side, we expect that there may be little or no financial savings. This is partly because we assume that the projected savings would be applied to enhancing the educational programming. A significant challenge is that we expect that a combined district would be held harmless, as Pioneer is now, meaning that increases in Chapter 70 state aid would likely be minimal.
And just to comment on this, the savings would mostly come through consolidation of central office, and the $400,000, though, again, would be plowed back into programs and services. That's what we would expect. I think it was a surprise to DESE that the larger district would fall into hold harmless. So for hold harmless, that for those who are out there that don't know what that means, is that when you have declining enrollment, you have a per pupil cost that is attached to the student. And if you're declining, the state will hold harmless the district so that you don't lose from year to year your budget, but they only give you minimal aid, and it's often $20 to $30 per student, which doesn't often cover your rising costs of other expenses within your district. So that can be really challenging. Yeah.
2 for 2 here. I don't know. I work in healthcare where mergers and acquisitions are happening all the time, and the common promise is that we'll save here and save there, and ultimately not so much. So I'm struck that even at this point in the 6 towns work, there's a recognition that, from what I read here at least, there would not be substantial savings or decreases in town assessments. And I was just wondering, was that a surprise to the committee, or because I imagine in other situations that would be the primary reason mergers might be happening. But
I think you have to decipher. Out east you have very large districts, and so a lot of times they get into a situation where your towns are potentially those that have low AQVs and income. And so they're struggling to even just meet their obligations to their own town. They look for consolidation for financial reasons. This is one of these instances where we're really looking for consolidation to build up economies of scale in your programs. They may not be suffering from declining enrollment. They may be suffering from financial difficulties within their town. So the direction of why you go in terms of regionalization doesn't have to be just financial. In this case, you look at it through, in the way we would look at it through, is sort of a cost benefit. So we didn't really expect there to be dramatic savings because of the nature of this particular type of regionalization, because you would be combining middle and high school, not necessarily, making other sort of structural changes with closing elementary schools or throwing, your middle school and high school students into one building and mothballing a building that didn't seem politically feasible, nor does it feel comfortable on a cultural level. People take a lot of pride in their schools, and they can be the centerpieces of your community. So we were looking for something that seemed feasible, both at a community level, but also would build the benefits up for potentially the same costs. So that's really what it's about, is building those economies of scale and building your programs up.
I will say, we talk about saving money. There would be money saved, but that money, we would hope, would just be invested in the students.
Exactly. Right. And the other thing was, we're looking at other scenarios. We're looking at, we need to run the financial research again to update it and look at what the assessments would look like. But also run some ideas past DOR and DESE about, what if this new district was started fresh so that there was no history? Because hold harmless relies on looking backward and looking at your enrollment in terms of where it has come from and where it's going. And so if it's in decline, they're holding you harmless from your historical perspective. And so if you start new, that would be starting over. And so the question would be, can you start over, establish a new district, and allow it to not be in hold harmless? I think it did surprise the state, though, because out east, I think there's a general consensus that the western part needs to regionalize, and that's going to solve your issues of a declining population and enrollment. And we have very particular issues out here that are, those of us who've lived here a long time, we know that it's not just a simple matter. You have transportation issues, that go along with that. And we have real, community issues about, potentially closing one of our schools. And that's been really hard on us. So this is not, this is not easy work. This is, I can sense in our communities that there's a lot of, potential fear of change, and that's understandable. So we're here to give you the information as we see it, and here we are. So.
And I just want to take note of the time. It's 8:35.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, sorry.
This slide shows foundation enrollments for the two districts. Foundation enrollment is important because the state uses that to calculate Chapter 70 aid. Again, the solid lines show actual enrollments for the past 10 years. Over the period, Pioneer's foundation enrollment has declined by 29%, and Gilmontague's has declined by 9%. The dashed line shows projections done by the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, in 2020, and the dotted lines show DESE projections in 2021. We asked DESE why the 2021 projections show foundation enrollment remaining level, but we didn't get an answer. This slide shows foundation enrollments including Franklin County Technical School. Some people have speculated that FCTS has been a factor in declining enrollments in the district.
This one is a little bit deceiving, in my opinion, because it's looking at total enrollment at the top, and Franklin Tech really only impacts 9 through 12. So you have to kind of keep that in mind when you look at it. I wish Mike were here, because there's a lot of information in the next two. So.
This slide shows choice in, choice out comparisons for the two districts. Pioneer shows a net positive that has been declining over time. Gilmontague shows a net deficit over time that has remained more or less constant.
Ready to move on? Okay.
Here we have a comparison of actual assessments in the current configurations and what those might be in a new district using various calculation methods. These assume a combined district budget that equals the sum of the actual district budgets. They also assume that required local contributions, RLCs, would not change. The black bars show actual town assessments. The next 4 bars show what using attending or foundation enrollments in single year or rolling average might look like. The green bar shows what using RLC, which is a state's calculation of what towns are actually able to afford, might look like. It is important to note that the graphs are not done to the same scale. Montague, Bernardston-Northfield, and Gill show millions, while Leiden and Warwick show thousands. The STRPB has taken no position on a recommended assessment or calculation method. That will be one of the issues addressed if we get to the point of drafting a proposed regional agreement.
And some of this information we're going to be following up with on soon, so to update it, looking at different methodologies. We're almost there.
This slide shows Chapter 70 aid for the two districts for the past 10 years, along with how much of it has been due to hold harmless. Pioneer has been in hold harmless for the entire period. Gilmontague was in hold harmless for several years, but recently, except for FY22, has not been, and therefore has benefited from Chapter 70 aid increases. Over the period, Gilmontague's Chapter 78 has increased by 29%, while Pioneer's has increased by 5%.
So you can see in the graph when you see some of the pink shading at the bottom for the blue bars, that's when you see it disappear, they're out of hold harmless at that point. So you can see Gil Montague was out of hold harmless in 21, then back in 22, and then out of it again in 23.
These findings come from TransFinder, a transportation consultant group, and are based upon redesigning the routes to accommodate the combined districts.
We found that because the two district buildings would still be in use, one for middle school and one for high school, that the bus rides would depend on whether you're middle school or high school, for one. So if you were a middle schooler, and let's say the middle school was here, that the wait times would be roughly the same, a little longer for those in Gil Montague, and then vice versa for the high school. So that it really depends on where the bus routes start and pick up and then make their way to the school. But there were some rides would be longer, some rides would be shorter. Couple more here and we're done.
These determinations were based upon assessments of both facilities done by the Mars Group with help from the facilities managers.
What we found was that both buildings are in good shape. We did find, at least through the Mars report and through our own general consensus, that the Turners Falls High School would be better suited for high school just because of the extra facilities that it has to give middle schoolers something to look up to, as opposed to going there for middle school and then having facilities not necessarily be quite as robust just because of the size. And we get to challenges, and we know there's a lot of community challenges. Some of them we can address, and some of them we can't, or we can attempt to, but probably do not a great job at. So some of them are, addressing fears that we have no control over. So we would want to acknowledge that those fears are out there about change, and understand that. We can try to acknowledge them. I'm not sure. It's sort of like saying, let's address school choice. Well, we've been trying to do that for 20 years, right? It's not necessarily something you can solve, but you can acknowledge it's there and try to address it, but and mitigate the circumstances as best you can. So,
and one of the
These are
things
the
on
challenges of combining districts. We list the ones that other districts that have done this type of regionalization have shared. There may be other challenges that are unknown right now. The goal in this presentation is to focus on what is known.
Yeah, so one of the things we'd be doing through this facilitation, this next round, would be to actually get deeper into what are those challenges? What do people see? We haven't had a real chance to dive into that. And also, along those lines, are there pathways to address them or suggestions to address them? So we were dealing with what we know. We'd like to get more into how people perceive things and what they identify as challenges, so that we're making sure we give a fair overview of what we're finding.
Thank you. That's what I was considering. Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering, it seems to me that there are three different buckets of an overview, as you mentioned. One bucket is the advantages to a merger. One bucket is challenges should a merger occur. But the bucket I haven't yet heard is downsides to a merger.
Yeah, and I think you saw that in the we're still running the numbers, but I think financially it's a challenge. I mean, it's if we're going to be in hold harmless, what does that mean? And that's not necessarily it doesn't necessarily have to be looked upon as negative. When you combine the two districts and you look at, let's say, potentially a $40 million budget for a combined district, I think the way to look at it is, again, through a cost-benefit analysis, and say to yourself, okay, what opportunities have the students gained? If you stay apart and you're staying with, okay, let's say Gil Montague is out of hold harmless and you're in hold harmless, right? That presents not just financial challenges, but your enrollments are presenting some significant curriculum challenges. When you get to under 150, as someone that has taught at an institution that's been struggling at below 150 and now at 120, you struggle very, very much in terms of being able to find flexibility in your schedule, to find a schedule that it will even work, because you're trying to be able to offer electives. You're still trying to run your required classes. You're trying to field your teams. So, the question would be to ask, instead of saying, well, we're going to be in hold harmless, which on the surface might seem like, see, we're all worse off. But when you start looking at it in terms of, well, we're going to now have a high school of 330, 340 students, that's a very different thing to ask, because now you have economies of scale to be able to have a band, possibly a marching band of 40 or 50 students. You now can bring back your JV football team and have a much more competitive varsity team. Same thing with basketball. Same thing with girls softball. Same thing with whatever it is that you're trying to field. Those opportunities weren't necessarily there in your small school, and so you look at it in terms of staying small is has some benefits for sure. You get often more independent and one-on-one instruction, that kind of thing. Smaller classes, some people believe in that. But on the flip side, you're missing the opportunities of potentially more classes, more interesting classes, elective classes, having faculty have more than just one person in the department, which allows for more creativity and approaches to learning and curriculum development. So, those are the kind of things that you want to think about, as opposed to what can we do with a $40 million budget with 330 students in our high school and 450 students in our middle school, as opposed to staying as small as we are and having, maybe not being in hold harmless.
And I'll just say too, it's two very different perspectives, right? You either want a high school, sort of a traditional high school that offers separate AP classes, that has an adjustment counselor that's licensed, that has things that a smaller school like Pioneer does not currently have a choice about what language you take. And they're just two very different perspectives and choices that all these towns get to make, hopefully in the future, about what vision they have. And we as a committee, I think one thing I just want to make clear to the viewing public is that we are just doing research. We're not making decisions. We'll make a decision to move forward, but it's the towns that will make the decision, the taxpayers who will make a decision. And so we're just trying to do the best that we can do to present information. And there is nothing that's guaranteed. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's already going to happen. That's not true at all. We just want to be supported and get a chance to be able to present, because you spend a lot of time and energy doing this.
Yeah, and I would say that, it's really important to note that these two school districts, in terms of their middle school and high schools, are very small. Moving to, let's say if they combined, it would still be small in the eyes of the state. These would still be small schools. It's just that I can tell you, even as someone that taught at a school right now that's 120, it was a huge difference from when we were 160. Every student you lose is a larger percentage of your student enrollment and your resources in terms of being able to support your programs. And when you go to 250, 300, 330, it really makes a huge impact in terms of both your curriculum design, being able to support your schedule, your programs, your athletics, everything. So, again, I'm not saying that we're going to be big, because we wouldn't be. And but I also want to say that the financials are real. And if that's all we're going to look at and not look at the what the impact is on our students and their opportunities for education, I think that would be a mistake for us especially. So
just to wrap this up then, because we've Thank you for the time you've given us. I do want to thank the superintendent who arranged, along with the acting principal, that I had an opportunity to meet with the leadership team, student leadership team, and just sort of review what the planning board was about and what we're looking at, and in bringing the student bodies together from that leadership and hearing perspectives. And in that very short time, I think it was like 5 minutes left, and I asked the question, did they have any suggestions or ideas or things we should be thinking about? And there were 3 or 4 comments that the kids made that we hadn't thought about. So from their perspective, I think that will be really helpful information. Regardless of what eventually happens, it will be good information for the district, for the superintendent, for sharing information, and here's what we learned. And so I want to thank you for that and look forward to a field trip for each group to visit the school and have a chance to talk and see what they come up with.
And I would just like to thank you guys for having us here, and just thank you for all your work that you do for the students in our communities, because that's why we're here. We're all trying to work together and trying to make a better educational system for our students right here at home. So thanks.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming and for having the dialogue.
And Deb, thank you so much. I mean,
Well,
this
thanks
was
for
going beyond.
letting us go for it. I appreciate that.
Sleep well, but tonight. Keep that foot elevated.
Thank you so much.
All right. So moving on to the minutes from January 19th, 2023.
I move that we approve the,
Oh, we have some corrections.
well, don't we have a motion and then a second, and then we have the amendments?
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I move that we approve the January 19th, 2023 minutes.
Second.
Excellent. All right. Any
Discussion.
corrections?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Karen.
Okay. Thank you. On page 2, number 5, E as in Edward, there's the end indicates it's not the end.
Where's this? What? Oh, down here.
Oh, okay, yeah. Melissa
Oh,
had
oh,
said
oh.
she wanted to
Scheduled.
make a regularly scheduled meeting compared to sort of randomly selected.
Meeting time? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay. And then on page 3, 6, E is in Edward again. 4 lines up from the bottom. She asked Friday absences on early relief. I asked about Friday absences on early release days. Okay?
I have one correction on page 2. The second item down, budget transfers. The second to the last sentence, there's a repeat of the budget transfers in the amount of as presented. So just
In the amount of,
yeah, just in the amount of 397,000.
Okay.
Blah blah blah.
Well, I guess we could have done it the other way. So I move we approve them as amended.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All right. And Steve, you want to start this?
Steve Martin, yes.
Gretchen Carlton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Ethan Schwartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes?
Jennifer?
Jennifer Coffin, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. Jill has left a meeting. Yep. All right. Thank you. All right, so moving on, the chair's report. I'll make it quick. I have the audit for fiscal year 21 has been completed. I have the report. If any members are interested in reviewing it, just let me know. I am looking to schedule a meeting of the chairs of the subcommittees so we can set the agenda, help me set the agenda for the coming year, and also to talk about the schedules of meetings. March 10th is a possibility date, but I'll reach out with some possible times. And I'm also looking to plan a retreat or a special meeting for the full committee to talk about our goals for the next year sometime over this summer.
Mm.
So
Nice.
that's more to come on that. And it,
Just real quick on that, do you know if anyone, any new members especially have gone to the charting the course?
I don't know. Have you, charting the course is the training through MASC. So have you attended yet? No. Okay. And, but
I wouldn't mind doing that again. I did the first one remotely.
yeah, I did
So,
too.
yeah,
So
it would-
yeah,
I
it was
would
be
be
nice to do that in
open to
person.
Doing in person with the new members as well. I think that would be
That's great.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned at our subcommittee meeting, I think there's one coming up soon that's
Yes.
in Amherst or Hadley.
Okay.
So,
Yep.
you know, I've gone as
So-
much further east to have to attend one of those.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So-
And did this audit report have a section in it on our OPED obligation?
I just get it that open.
Sometimes they do it every 2 years, but each year they'll have a review. I can look later, then,
Yep.
let's not hold up. But
Yeah,
that's something
I
to
don't
take a look
remember.
at,
I
because it
didn't
will give
look at
you an idea as you're looking at FY '25.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have. Superintendent's
Great.
report.
I'm going to present very quickly. Okay, in your packets, you had a brief memo, an update on the administrative hiring searches, and folks can see on their screens, I'll make it a little bigger. This is the timeline for the administrative searches. We have 3 positions that are open: principal at Pioneer Valley Regional School, principal at Northfield Elementary, and an anticipated opening for the Director of Teaching and Learning. While the school committee approved the budget tonight that has a line for the Director of Teaching and Learning, the Curriculum and Personnel Committee would need to review and recommend for consideration a draft job description. So I'm still working on that. So Curriculum and Personnel met on the 7th. Here's the general sequence of events. I complete a draft of that role's job description. I bring it to Curriculum and Personnel for review. They comment, we revise, and then they recommend a draft to come forward to the school committee. School committee, I hope, approves a job description. We don't want to wait for the hiring process, so I have posted it as an anticipated position. This document was sent out via the update. It's gone out in multiple different ways. If you click on up here, you get to pages on the websites for the NES and the PVRS principal position. I know I'm talking fast. I am looking for school committee members. I need at least 1 member, please. I could do it without you, but I'd love to have 1 member on each of the searches. So if you're open to being on a search, I've color-coded it. Everybody's got to come to an orientation on March 6th, and then it's broken up. It's 3 dates for each interview team. 3 dates for the PVRS search, 3 dates for the NES search, 3 dates for Director of Teaching and Learning. So school committee, I'll send you an email again asking for volunteers.
Just to clarify.
Yes.
They're all in-person meetings, right?
Those are in-person meetings, yes. Yeah.
I just want to share that I would absolutely love to be a part of this, but I can in no way guarantee that I would be
Yeah,
able
it's
to
a-
be here on those many days that
That's
week,
okay.
so-
That's
But I
okay.
wish I could.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep, I understand. If we can't, we can't. I just want to make sure that school committee is offered genuinely a seat at the table for these important positions. Any questions before I end that?
No.
Okey dokey, thank you, I'm done.
All right.
Thank you.
Subcommittee reports. Budget subcommittee, I don't know that we need an update from you because we did a monumental task tonight, so I think that's our update.
Ready for a long winter's nap?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
It's like December 26th or something. So buildings and grounds, is there an update from buildings and grounds? I know Melissa's not here, so any of the other committee members have any?
We could say that the facilities master plan, we got two bids.
Nice.
So not yet opened, but we got 2 bids.
All right.
Yeah, just really briefly, we did meet elected chair and kind of took care of the starting of business for the new subcommittee.
Perfect. All right, curriculum and personnel.
We met, talked about the superintendent's goals, and also discussed the the new position, and kind of got clarification on that. I think we'll go into more of that later on, so.
Perfect. And district agreement and has not
met, and I would say, we had talked about maybe having district agreements start up again in March. Looking at this calendar, I would beg that district agreement wait until April.
I think that's a reasonable request. Great, and negotiations has not met. Has policy has met?
Policy met? Yep, we have a memo tonight.
A memo from this evening, so, and, great. Moving on, superintendent evaluation proposed goals. Nathan, do you want to speak on this a little bit?
First was the school year calendar.
Oh, sorry, yes. I'm sorry, I got my numbers mixed up.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so in your packets, you have another brief memo about a request to consider converting what is currently identified as an in-service day on Friday, March 10th to a regular school day. We've had 5 snow days, plus both PVRS and NES had an additional day. We really want to avoid going into the following week in June 26th. So I, as I said, am loath to give up a full PD day. Both unions are in support of this request. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I think this is, excuse me, I think this is a good solution rather than continuing into the next week in June.
Let's keep our fingers crossed for the rest of the snow season.
Yep.
And I want to clarify, we currently do not have to go into the next week. This is putting a day in the bank, as it were. Okay, I just wanted to not, yeah.
And I think all the trees that have going to fall.
No, I know, poor
I don't think so. Sorry.
There's a couple hanging around us, but they're going to fall, so.
A big gust of wind. All right, so you need school committee's approval.
This is a change in the
to
school year
change
calendar. You would
the
need to vote to approve this change.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjust the current school year calendar to convert March 10th, 2023 to a day of student attendance.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, do you want to start the voting?
Steve Martin, yes.
Gretchen Kelton, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Coffin, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes.
Thank you.
Passes. Thank you. All right. Now, superintendent evaluation, proposed goals. Do you want to talk a little bit about the superintendent's goals?
Just that we talked to the superintendent about them. These are not summative goals. These are formative goals. Thank you. So these are things that we will look for. We will not be performing an evaluation upon. So just to clear that, and I think other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Won't we be doing something in May? with
Yes.
them?
Yes.
Yep.
So as out, should I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Nathan, for that introduction. So with the curriculum and personnel, what a productive committee you were. So it's late. It's February. So the recommendation was that I draft goals that go from now through the end of the next school year, that I provide a report on progress in May to the school committee. You then write a formative report on my progress. I would then do another report on progress, perhaps next January. And you're free to check in as much as you want. If you say, hey, Patricia, report in November, I'll report in November. That's fine. Some sort of formative report or reports during the year, and then there would be end of cycle summative assessment at the end of next year.
Right.
Yep.
just something to think about. So it's very exciting that you're going to have a retreat in the summer. Part of that retreat may be the school committee finally developing some goals and directives,
That's the
direction that they
intention.
want and,
Yes.
and vision. And in this process, that will help, I would think, to provide some other areas for the superintendent to include so that she's matching up the vision and the goals of the committee with hers. So I would anticipate that she would then be making a revision to those. Just food for thought, because it's going to be great that you're having a retreat, and that's a opportunity to do that with her.
And that was part of the thought of making these. That was part of the thought of making these goals somewhat loose, not to be evaluated, because they will be adjusted. I'm sure.
They're good.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent.
One brief note, if I may. There's one area in which our district has fallen short with educator evaluation, and that is the evaluation of administrators. Well, actually, also for educators. The changes to educator evaluation in the law, maybe 6 years ago, require that we seek feedback. For educators, we are required to seek feedback from students, and my understanding is we have never done that systematically in the district. In addition, there are certain administrative positions for which we are by law required to seek feedback from educators. We have not been. So I will lead the way at some point in the fall, not early in the fall, but next fall, I'll put out a survey for all staff about my work. I will instruct my administrators to do, possibly not all of them, certainly the principals, because it's required by the law. And then with educators, we will need to start working. I'll start putting the word out this spring, but we are supposed to ask students to provide feedback on educators. All of us need to improve our game around this. So again, I will lead the way. I'll model what it looks like. It's scary, but that you'll see that happen next fall.
Great.
So I would request that the committee please approve these goals for me to get started on them.
So moved.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Great. All right.
Steve Martin, yes.
Gretchen Calton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Coffin, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes.
Thank you.
If I might, I'd like to again commend the superintendent for presenting these goals in a manner that will be easier to use as a school committee in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I find these documents very clear and
Yes.
Good,
Very
thank you, because
helpful.
then you can give me better feedback,
Yes.
right? You can help me. I appreciate that, thank you.
excellent. All right, so moving on. Policy review.
Okay, here we go. Policy, DD, Policy Subcommittee, you want to do this? You want me to do this? Want me to do it? Okay, I'll do it.
Much better.
All right. So we are Policy Subcommittee is tackling some of the policies in the revised manual. We have just one for your consideration tonight. In the packet is a brief memo. The point behind the requested revisions, and these revisions were recommended by the committee for your review, to allow me the ability to move ahead with proposals that are under $10,000. Also, to move ahead with our entitlement grant proposals. Those are big, but we do them every year. They're a core part of our work. We would request that you let me manage my team and get those proposals in. I like this. I really like this part. The fourth point, the revised language would require that we come to you quarterly, reporting on the status of all grants, which I think would be good.
Yeah.
Right? This institutes a new quarterly report. Did I get the big points? $10,000. This happened today. Sorry, poor Joe. I was advised, look at me pointing at nobody. I was advised of a grant opportunity that's due tomorrow. this policy change would allow us, if we think we can get it in, to get it in. We don't have to, we weren't hiding anything. We just found out about this grant. It's got a deadline of tomorrow. I don't know that we can, but, so, yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. And so this is just the first reading. So members can digest the information, and we'll bring it back at a later time, probably next month, for approval.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Excellent. Student enrollment update.
In your electronic packets, you may have received the wrong enrollment update. You may have received the February 2022 update. We snuck around before the meeting and put in the February 2023 update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Any questions about?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what, about the decline here.
In the 2022?
And 2023. It looks like we have a negative of 8 or 9 students.
The total change is 0.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the erroneous report that you received, it was a -8.
Okay.
This one is, I saw that and thought, this is wrong.
Okay.
You should not, the 2022 is wrong.
Okay.
Would you like a 2023, Alan?
Yeah.
I got fresh coffee.
Snuck it in.
I'm so sorry about that. Yeah, I saw that and I thought, no.
Right. Okay.
So we've had 2 months in a row of a net 0 enrollment change.
Stability is good.
Yeah, I'll take that. There will be, I know of there will be some changes in the next report. We've got some families that I think are having changes in circumstances.
Could I make a comment on this? Just one of the informations that I received from the students when I was talking with them was apparently one of the high school students from Vernon expressed an interest that there are a number of families up there that want to come down here to Pioneer. So that might add some more student to our enrollment next year.
Yeah, Acting Principal Kathy Hawkins Harrison, and Middle School Guidance Counselor Charity O'Connor were just up in Vernon the other night recruiting, and I understand that they did very well.
Good.
Excellent. All right. And going down the list, any other business? We have the staff changes list.
Any questions about the staff changes list?
Nope.
Joe Nowicki has started, off to a great start, convening all kinds of conversations.
Excellent. All right. Any other business? I have no additional business. Our next school committee meeting is Thursday, March 9th, 2023 at 7 p.m. here in the library. And are there any other announcements? Any other?
I guess
updates
it would
from the
be a
committee?
question. So we have, you'll get new numbers pretty soon from the governor, and then that will generate the opportunity to look at those and then see how that impacts the assessments. And then the treasurer has 30 days to, certify those. So that might be good information. If you think we have enough by that point in time, we may not, but.
Yep, no, that's a good point. We're going to get, this isn't our last chance to do some voting. So we'll to Alan's point, we're going to have to look at those assessments again because, this is a best estimate, but ultimately it'll be different.
Well, that's not to negate the good work that you've done
Oh,
so far.
no.
This is great. We have a budget. So now we look at the
Thank
next
you.
piece.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
All right. Go ahead.
Steve Martin, yes.
Gretchen Elton, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Jennifer?
Jennifer Coffin, yes.
Thank you. And Raina Dastu, yes. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting.
All right.